Diego Maradona. For football fans, that name alone brings up these incredible images of impossible skill, of, well, divine inspiration, but also deep human controversy. This was a player who could practically win a World Cup all by himself, but whose life off the pitch was just a constant struggle. So today, we're going to try and unravel the man they called a flawed genius.
This quote, it just nails it. It gets right to the heart of the whole Maradona mystique. See, with him, stats and trophies, they never, ever told the full story. His genius wasn't something you could just tally up in a spreadsheet. It was something you had to see. It was this kind of magic that just completely transformed the game whenever the ball was near him.
I mean, think about it. His talent was so off the charts that back in 2000, when FIFA tried to name the single greatest player of the entire 20th century, they just couldn't choose. They actually ended up with two joint winners, Pelé and Diego Maradona. And right there, that official recognition kind of sets the stage for one of the wildest, most complicated stories in all of sports.
So where did a legend like this even begin? Look, if you really want to get the guy, you've got to go all the way back to the beginning, to the story of El Pibe de Oro, the Golden Boy.
And his rise, it was just astronomical. He gets spotted by a scout when he's only 8 years old. By the time he's 12, he's the halftime show for professional games, just out there dazzling thousands of people with his ball tricks. And then, just 10 days shy of his 16th birthday, boom, he makes his professional debut, becoming the youngest player in the history of Argentina's top league. And this photo here, from '73, it really grounds the whole legend, doesn't it? He wasn't some product of a fancy football academy. He was raised in Villa Fiorito, a shanty town. He was the first son in a poor family after 4 older sisters, and this humble, gritty background would shape his identity and that defiant, anti-establishment attitude of his for the rest of his life.
The coach who discovered him, Francisco Cornejo, he literally couldn't believe his eyes. He actually weighed the 8-year-old showing his ID card because he was convinced he was a little person just pretending to be a kid. That's how unbelievable his talent was. He had the body of a boy, but the brain and the skills of a fully grown pro.
Okay, let's jump forward to the absolute peak of his career, the 1986 World Cup. Because seriously, if you want to understand the whole flawed genius thing, the two sides of Diego Maradona, all you have to do is look at a single game. So the stage is set. It's the World Cup quarterfinal in Mexico City. The opponent, England. And let me tell you, this was way, way more than just a soccer match. It was only 4 years after the Falklands War, so for Argentina, this game was a chance for some kind of symbolic revenge on the world stage. Okay, get this. These two moments, probably the two most famous goals in football history, they happened just 4 minutes apart. It's insane. And they perfectly capture his two sides, which is why one newspaper called him half angel, half devil. So first, you've got the hand of God. He goes up for a high ball against the English goalie, who's way taller, and he just punches it into the net with his hand. It's pure, street-smart cheating. And then just 4 minutes later, you get the goal of the century. He gets the ball in his own half of the field and takes off on this incredible 60-meter run, just weaving past 5 English players before scoring. One was an act of cunning deceit, the other an act of pure, breathtaking genius. All right, so that's the World Cup, but his club career, man, that's where he went from superstar to like a literal god in one Italian city. So in 1984, he gets to Naples for a world record fee, and he's greeted by 75,000 screaming fans. Now you gotta understand, Naples was a poor, looked down upon southern city, and the rich north of Italy always made fun of them. One local newspaper literally wrote, "We have no mayor, houses, schools, none of this matters because we have Maradona." He wasn't just some star athlete they signed. To them, he was everything. He was hope. And this right here just says it all. Before Maradona, the club Napoli had never, ever won the Italian league. They were a joke to the powerful northern clubs. But with Maradona, this fellow outsider from the global south leading the charge, they became champions. He gave a victory to the people who never won. He lifted that entire underdog city to glory, not just in sports, but in their whole identity. But all that worship, it came with a heavy, heavy price. While he was being treated like a god on the field, his life off of it was just spinning out of control. The pressure was unbelievable. His cocaine use became a regular thing. He was getting fined huge amounts of money for skipping practices. He had public scandals, and he even got mixed up with the local crime syndicate, the Camorra. Yeah, you just knew a lifestyle like that, it wasn't sustainable. And for a guy who had flown so incredibly high, the crash was going to be just as spectacular as the rise.
15, that's the number. And in 1991, it meant the beginning of the end, a 15-month ban from playing football. And the reason? He tested positive for cocaine. Just like that, his time as the King of Naples was over. There was no hero's farewell. He just left the club and the city that worshipped him completely in disgrace.
And if that wasn't enough, the final, crushing blow came on the biggest stage of all. At the 1994 World Cup in the USA, after scoring this amazing goal and looking like he might be back, he failed another drug test. He was sent home. His international career was over.
So, after all that, the genius, the controversy, the glory, the shame, how are we supposed to remember this guy? Well, Maradona himself gave a pretty convincing answer.
At his big farewell match in 2001, he said something that's just become legendary. La pelota no se mancha. The ball doesn't get stained. This was his argument. He's saying, look, my life was messy, I made mistakes, I paid for them, but the art I created on the field, the magic with the ball, that's separate. It's pure and it should stay that way. And this mural, wow, it's an incredible testament to how he's still seen, especially back home in Argentina. It's a recreation of Michelangelo's creation of Adam, but with Maradona as God, passing the divine spark of talent to his successor, Lionel Messi. For so many, he's not just a great player. He's the benchmark. He's a divine figure.
So in the end, there's just no easy answer, is there? Was he a genius or was he a cheat? Was he a saint who lifted up the poor and forgotten, or a sinner who gave in to his own demons? His story is just one of these breathtaking contradictions, and it leaves you wondering. Maybe the whole point is that he was never one or the other. He was, somehow, impossibly, both.